which have sustained their people since the beginning of time. I can tell you that is not happening today. When I think of the UN Declaration, as many First Nation leaders in this country, it talks about free, prior, and informed consent. And that is not what this government enjoys from the Tsleil-Waututh First Nation. This government and other governments of this country have been given very clear direction from the Supreme Court of Canada to pursue reconciliation with First Nations people. This is not the path to reconciliation. This is the path to the courthouses. This is the path for public protest. This is the path for civil disobedience. And I am looking forward to standing beside each and every one of you, and all of your family and friends are going to join to make sure this government understands our complete and utter disapproval of them approving the Kindermorgan pipeline.
Yeah!
It's simply not good enough for the government of this country to travel around the world and point to human rights infringements of other countries. It is not good enough for this government to go to these conventions they have about global warming and yet still turn and try and pretend that building a pipeline is going to be the path to green energy. It just absolutely makes no sense.
No!
Now I'd like to read for you and for the record the news release which comes from the Union of East Indian Chiefs today. The news release of climate change and relationships. Federal approval of Kindermorgan and Line 3, a total betrayal. Coast Salish Territories, Vancouver, BC, November 29, 2016. Today, Canada approved the Kindermorgan Trans Mountain Expansion Pipeline and Enbridge's Line 3 pipeline, while dismissing the Enbridge Northern Gateway pipeline and committing to advance a tanker moratorium on the north coast of British Columbia. Grand Chief Stuart Phillip, President of the Union of East Indian Chiefs, stated, "We are outraged at Prime Minister Trudeau's cavalier 50-50 announcement and with the sheer audacity of his refusal to acknowledge the serious erosion of Indigenous rights and the extreme impacts of climate change that will certainly result from the approval of Kindermorgan and Line 3. We absolutely and categorically reject his sunny assertion that approving these two pipelines is the only way to protect the environment and grow the economy. This is simply not true and conjures up the ghost of his predecessor, Stephen Harper.
Yeah! No!
Making decisions that are not based in science. Prime Minister Trudeau committed to overhaul the Canadian Environmental Assessment and the National Energy Board processes before any major decisions would be made by his government. He lied. Today's approval is in direct contradiction to Canada's commitment to fully implement the United Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which includes that states shall consult and cooperate in good faith with the Indigenous peoples concerned through their own representative institutions in order to obtain their free, prior, and informed consent prior to the approval of the project affecting their lands or territories and other resources, particularly in connection with the development, utilization, or exploitation of mineral, water, or other resources. It has been made very clear to the government that all impacted Indigenous nations have not provided their free, prior, and informed consent. Grand Chief Phillip concluded last week I walked with nearly 5,000 people through the streets of Vancouver in opposition to Kindermorgan TMX pipeline. And we pledge to do whatever it takes to stop the pipeline from going through. Ultimately, as the Trudeau government is well aware, these projects will not succeed. The opposition is too great, and we will remain united, strong, and determined. Chiefs Council has unanimously called for any climate change plan developed by Canada to stop the further expansion of fossil fuel production and export and support